Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we will continue with part 11 of the body side of Lexus LF-30 concept car. Okay, so continuing on from the previous lesson, I'm going to keep working on the lower over here, and right now there is a four-sided ball corner, so let's go and do that. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm just going to grab the insert tool. Let's go ahead and get it. So it's going to curve and surface, and I'm just going to snap it over here like this. And let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. So I'm just going to grab this one, just going to snap it over here like that. Well, you don't really need to snap it, you just need to get it something close. So basically I'm going to be trim converting this. So I'm just going to duplicate this one over here, duplicate this one over here. Just going to delete the COS like that, and let's go ahead and align this one like this. It's going to be G2 over here, and I'm going to align this one over here like this, and let's go ahead and do the same thing like that. This one over here like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the CV location just to make sure that they're nicely aligned. So let's push this one a little bit over here. It doesn't need to be super exact because eventually I'm going to be trim converting it, aligning it again. But the closer it is, the accurate it's going to be, and it's going to, well, the amount of CV movement after I align it is going to be reduced, which means it's going to retain the structure of the surface as much as possible, which should be advantageous to making a clean surface. So that's that over here, and let's go ahead and do the same thing over here as well. So I'm just going to do an insert over here. I'm just going to snap this one like that. Actually, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Snap it here, and that looks pretty good too. So probably not a lot of movement that I have to make or adjustments. So I'm just going to delete the COS over here, and let's just go ahead and align this one on this edge like this. And let's just make sure do the same thing over here. I'm just going to align it like this, and let's do the same thing here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here as well. Okay, I should probably do a little check, and looks like it does need to be adjusted a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. And the bottom one on the other hand looks pretty good. Probably same thing over here too. I think the bottom one looks good. I think the top one is the only one that just needs a little bit of adjustment like this. So I think that looks good too. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and project all of these curves to their respective fillets. So let's go ahead and project one over here, 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 and here. And let's go ahead and just do a trim convert over here, 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 and here. And that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the original fillets, and I'm just going to hide them. And let's go ahead and grab a line and align all these surfaces. So I'm going to just make sure that it's set to G2. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that it's set to edge, because that is going to be critical when trying to do a corner over here. So I'm just going to make sure that they're all set to curvature like this. This one is not super critical, but all the other ones do. All the other ones are. So let's go ahead and do those. For this one, I'm going to say partial. However, this will need to be edge. And I'm just going to make sure to drag it all the way to the end. Same thing over here. Let's grab those. Don't think this one really needs to be partial. Nope. Let's go ahead and do the same thing over here too. And that looks good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the surface continuity tool over here. Well, that's 1.0. This one, it's kind of hard to match it, so I'm just going to let that be, unfortunately. I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and the curves are no longer needed, so let's get rid of those. All right, so now the only thing left to do is just put a square over here. So let's go ahead and grab square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to set everything to curvature. Looks like it achieves it. The only problem is, of course, the spans. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn collinear options on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Actually, you know what? Even before I do that, it's good. So that is good right there. So I was able to achieve curvature. It took a little bit of time, but there's no any more manipulation that I need to do, and that looks pretty good. It's set to shade sky, but I don't like shade sky. Well, at least not for modeling over here. So that looks pretty good there. All right, so what I'm going to do is just delete the construction history, and that's that. All right, so the second thing I need to do is put a fillet over here. So I'm going to see how big of a fillet I need to make. So let me just grab some references. So let's go ahead and grab the image over here, and let me just resize it. Okay, so looking at this, let's see. I think this has a pretty decent sized fillet, so I should put that in as well. Probably not as big as the one that I put in below, but it looks like it's definitely not small. So let's go ahead and put that in. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab chords. It's going to be G2, and let's start with 30. Form factor will be set to 1. I'm just going to grab these surfaces over here, and let's just put something in. Okay, so it looks like 30 is a little bit small, so let's go with 50. And of course, it looks like that's just falling off over there, so I'll probably need to make some adjustments. So if that's the case, I'm just going to do it up to this point. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this to edge so that I can take a look at how big the fillet is. That's not too bad. Let's take a look at it from here. I wonder if I should have moved the theoretical down a little bit, just looking at that one. Well, too late now. I think 50 is not too bad, so I'm going to put that in. So let's see what I need to do. All right, so obviously this surface over here, it's cut off like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rebuild it. Unfortunately, if I click on this one, you will see that default extend. Of course, it falls down like this. Edge line, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. So let's give that a try. And that looks like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it at default over here. Obviously, I'm going to delete that. That doesn't really make a difference. I'm going to set this to edge align like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this to Bezier so that whatever CV structure over here is clean. So let's, well, probably it looks like there's not a lot of movement, but it does make a difference. So I'm going to do that, and let's just delete those. Delete the COS over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend the surface over here in order to create the COS. So let's go ahead and grab extend. I'm going to turn merge off, and I'm just going to extend this straight like this. It looks like it's diving off. That's no good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do linear, and I think I'm just going to use this edge in order to create these fillets. So before I do though, let me just delete the construction history on everything like this, and let's go ahead and grab these two over here, project, grab these ones. I'm going to trim here, trim here, trim here, and trim here also. Okay, actually, since I have this fillet, maybe I can just recycle this one. Looks like it's pretty close, so I think I can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, let's see, I'm going to grab a blend curve over here. I don't think it really needs to be super exact. You know what? Instead of doing that, maybe I should do this. First of all, let me just hide this because this piece is no longer needed. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a freeform blend between this one and this one, like this. I'm just going to set it to G2. Now, because I'm trying to recycle this one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this edge to just project over here like this. I know that it's a little bit off, which is fine. And it looks like the CV structure might be a little bit off, but that's okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim convert this one and this one. Trim convert. Is it going to do it? Why isn't it doing it? Let me just hide this one. That's weird. Oh, there we go. Oh, maybe it just didn't select. That's a little bit weird, but whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this one, and I'm just going to make sure that these are set, both set to 5 degrees like this. And let's go ahead and align this one over here. It's going to edge align there, and I'm going to do the same thing over here, edge align, and that looks good. And let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. So I'm just going to grab this one. What? Oh, now the blend surface I'm going to just delete, and I'm just going to align this. Oh, come on. Okay, so there is a blend surface. I'm going to delete that. That was from the original freeform blend that I used to create to trim these ones. To delete those, and I'm just going to align this one over here, edge align, edge like this, and that should be good. Now, of course, however, you do need to make sure that the continuity is good. I'm pretty sure that's going to cause a little bit of problem, so let's take a look. So right now, at least these edges are curvature. That should be position, which it isn't. That's a little bit weird, so let's find out why. Okay, so that's set to edge. That's set to edge. That's set to edge. And that one's set to edge. So there is no reason why it should be off. Ah, okay. So now that's why. Okay. So looks like this one is a little bit off. Now, I don't really want to touch this. I would prefer to touch this one because, well, it's easier fillet to adjust. So let's do this. What I'm going to do is, first of all, delete the construction history on all of them. And let's, for some reason, the selection seems a little bit off. Okay. So, oh, maybe that's why. Okay. Because of the cube that was in the hide layer. So let me just get rid of these. And I'm just going to untrim this one over here like that. Just make sure of the continuity. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align this fillet over here to this one over here. I'm just going to make sure that it's 100% aligned. So I'm going to grab this one, align a position, and I'm going to increase the position influences set to max so that it's perfectly aligned. And as you can see, because of the alignment over here, there's a little gap. So let's go ahead and adjust that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the COS over here, and I'm just going to reproject this edge like this. And let's go ahead and trim. And let's go ahead and align this one. G2, edge. And now, these should be positional. So let's take a look. And there it is. All right. So that looks good. I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. And I'm going to trim this one. And let's go ahead and check the continuity. So this is positional, which is good, and it's still retained. It should have retained curvature on both sides, which is good. Same thing over here. Now the only question is this curvature, which it isn't. So let's go ahead and do a little bit cleanup on that. Now this one might be a little bit difficult to achieve curvature just because of the angle over here. So let's take a look. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a line. Since this is a fillet and this is a fillet on top of the fillet, this ideally, this one should be aligned to this one. So let's take a look. So I'm just going to grab a line. I'm going to grab this surface over here and I'm going to align it like this. Vector doesn't really change. Edge, well, that one's good. However, it looks like that ruins the curvature continuity a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these two CVs over here. And I'm going to try to play around within the tolerance. So I'm going to set the mouse sensitivity to 5000. It's going to be in UV. And let's see. That's no good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it like this. Okay, I'm going to see if I can play around within the tolerance. Oh, there we go. And I got curvature on both sides. All right, so that's good. And let's go ahead and work on this one. Now, this one's lined up to this, which means it's going to be a little bit short. But, well, let's take a look. I wonder if I can do an insert over here. Like this. I think I can do one over here, but it's going to be a little bit different angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to... I think I'm going to extend this one. Extrapolate like this. and I'm going to see if I can just run it through here. So let's take a look. So I'm just going to duplicate this edge. I'm just going to line this up over here. Actually, you know what? Maybe I can just snap it there. Let's take a look. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm just going to extend this one back a little bit like that, and I'm just going to duplicate this one over here, delete the COS. Same thing, I'm just going to align this. Looks like it pops up over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a revert, and let's just rotate this a little bit. So I'm just going to rotate it like that, and let's go ahead and align this one again. That probably did move it, but it's very slight. So I think I'm just going to do a little bit blending over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this piece over here like this. And that looks good. And I'll probably align. Let's go ahead and align. So I'm just going to align this one over here. Blending will be turned off. I'm going to align this one over here like that. And that looks pretty good. And while I'm at it, I think I'm just going to align it right at the edge. So it's positioned like that. And now I'm just going to turn the CV structures on and see if that is aligned. It's not too bad. Now, unfortunately, well, actually this one is okay. So I'm just going to align this one like this. And this one, I'm just going to slide it a little bit. Actually, you know what? That one needs to be adjusted too. So let's adjust those a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this CV a little bit. So maybe not 5,000, but maybe 50. And let's just grab the white arrow over here like that. And now let's go ahead and try to align this. So this time I'm not going to do a trim convert. I think I'm just going to use a square, and let's see if that works. So I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, and if it'll, oh, that's why it's actually not aligned. So I'm going to align this one. Oops. I'm going to align this one to the edge like this. Actually, let me just make sure that I'm aligning to the correct surface. I'm going to align it here. But instead of using edge, I'm going to say vector. And I'm just going to say, yeah, view or Y, it doesn't really matter. Okay, that looks good. So now, oh, actually, you know what? Why is the CV structure a little bit off? So let's go ahead and I'm just going to slide this one over here like this. That looks good. And now I'm just going to do a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Of course, the collinear actually needs to be turned off for this side because the direction of the surface doesn't really correlate to the CV structure that I have. Now, if I did, I would have to change the CV structure over here, but this is okay. All right. That said, however, collinear should be turned on for side 3, and explicit control I'm going to turn on because right now it's got too many spans. And now let's go ahead and align. So I'm just going to grab align. It's going to G2. I'm going to just do project. I'm going to grab this edge over here. Looks like it's a little bit off. Let's see, normal view. Okay, so it looks like it's not perfect, but that's okay. And I'm just going to do the same thing over here. Actually, you know what? That's a bit of a bummer because I'm getting curvature deviation. So let's try this. I'm going to see if I can get this to work. If not, I might have to do something else. Well, let's give it a try anyways. So I'm just going to, first of all, let me just make sure that it is curvature here still, which it isn't. So let me just change that first. So I'm just going to say edge. I'm going to say partial. Okay, that does take it down. However, looks like I'm actually positioning it off. It's not a lot, but it's still off, which is kind of annoying. So let's try this again. I'm going to align to the edge, and it looks like I get a curvature deviation here. All right, so if that's the case, I might need to do a trim convert. Let's see, normal view. I don't think it really has a lot of impact. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and let's try to play around with the CV structure a little bit. So I'm going to set the mouse sensitivity to 5000. I'm going to do the NUV and okay, so I think I may be able to get it. So I'm going to increase it to 500,000 because it's super sensitive over here. So let's go ahead and get this to work. So that's curvature on that side. I just gotta make sure. Oh, wow, it's tangent. That's no good. So I'm just going to grab this one. And I'm just going to say G2 vector, nope. So tangent it is. And that's a shame. Okay, so if that's the case, I might, you know what? Let's just do a trim convert. I think that might be easier. So I'm just going to trim convert this one, and I'm going to trim convert this one. The original surfaces, however, I'm going to hide just in case I need to go back. So it's these two that will be hidden. And now let's go ahead and align this one. Over here, it's going to be edge align, G2. Same thing over here. I'm going to say edge, and it's going to be partial because this one obviously doesn't need to go there. And this one. Now, unfortunately, this one I can't really align unless I, of course, have to extend it. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these two. I'm going to copy and paste so that I can just delete the axis. I'm going to say hide unselected. I'm going to just untrim this one, untrim this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the COS over here. And I'm going to trim it this way. So let's go ahead and extend, select it. I'm going to just trim it this way so that I can align this side. So basically, I'm aligning this piece like this. So I'm going to say align. I'm going to make sure it's set to edge over here. Okay, so that's good. Delete that one. And let's go ahead and do this one over here. So this one, it doesn't have to be aligned anywhere. It just needs to be aligned. So I'm going to just use project. I think that's good. Let's go ahead and delete that. And now let's go ahead and delete this one. I'm going to get rid of the curves. So let's go ahead and do a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now only 3 sides are going to be collinear. It's failing position. That's... Oh, okay. So 2 is going to be curvature. 4 is going to be curvature. And I'm going to put collinear on 2, 3, and 4. It says it fails. That's all good. Okay, so let's find out what the problem is. Okay, so I got tangency problem on a couple of sides. Of course, one cannot be that. All right, so let's play around with this a little bit. 3. Number 4 side, it actually works better without collinear, which is fine. So now let's go ahead and fix this. So I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and it looks like it just needs to tip just a little bit. So let's grab this one over here, and I'm just going to tip it in. So 500,000, maybe switch back to 5,000. And let's go ahead and do that over there. And this one, there it is. And I got curvature on sides, and that looks beautiful. So now the only thing I need to do is I just need to trim this one. Looks like that is a little bit different. Maybe trim convert did have a slight effect on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this one. Now, because it is actually merging together, it might not have the best result. So let's find out. And there it is. Okay. So if that's the case, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this back. And I wonder if I can just project it. It might be a little bit off. In which it is. Okay. So if that's the case, I wonder if I can just align this one over here. Looks like trim convert did have a little bit of impact on that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the continue over here. Still curvature. and still curvature, and it's still curvature over here. I'm going to try and see if I can align this one. So it's going to be position. I'm going to say, actually, you know what? Edge should be okay. And I'm just going to grab this one, align it. And I'm going to say vector, position. And that does have a little bit of impact there. So let's see if I can get it back to curvature. So I'm going to grab curvature over here. Vector. Ah, that fails position. That's actually really frustrating. Okay, you know what? That really leaves me no choice, but I'm just going to extend this one a little bit, and I'm going to have to trim that one a little bit different way. So I'm just going to, well, first of all, what's going on over here? I'm going to intersect this one. What's going on? I'm going to extend this one over here a little bit, and I'm just going to intersect this piece with this one. And of course, the COS over here is a little bit funny, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align this one over here. I'm just going to make a degree 5 curve. Oh, let me just turn that off. To align it this way. Why is that doing that? Let me just try this side. Okay, so that aligned, and it's going to vector, UV. I'm going to align to COS over here, and there we go. And that should, that's a little bit weird intersection, but, well, if I were to just put a fillet between through all the surfaces, that it shouldn't really matter, but I don't think I'm going to do that. So let's just leave it like this. So I'm just going to trim this one over here, and let's go ahead and project onto this one. That's a little bit annoying, to be honest, if I'm being honest. But, well, I think it's big enough where I don't really need to worry about it. Now, eventually, there should be a fillet running through, but I'm not going to spend time doing that. And it looks a little bit weird because there's a fillet going on top of a fillet, sort of with a flat in the middle. So that's what the highlight does. But it actually should be acting that way because I do have a fillet. Of course, there are ways to convert it or make it a little bit of refinement on that. But I think this looks okay. All right, so the only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to round this off a little bit, and I think the bottom one is essentially done. So let me just do this, and let's go ahead and grab a curve fillet over here. It's going to record, it's going to be G2. To be honest, it doesn't, well, I guess it sort of does. It looks like there is some indication, so I'm going to start with 50. Yeah, I think that's big enough. All right, so I'm just going to do that. Of course, this is a COS that's going to be lined up. So I just want to do a little bit clean trim. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to grab this one over here, and just trim those away. I'm just going to project. That's done like that, and let's go ahead and trim this one. And it looks good. All right. So let me just make sure that everything's the same gray instead of having separate shaders on. And I think that looks good. So now the only thing left to do is this fillet running through. So we'll tackle that in the next lesson. All right, so let me just delete some of the curves over here. And I think it's starting to look pretty good. All right, so yeah. So that is it for part 11. We will pick this up in the next tutorial. And thank you guys for watching. Want to learn more? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you will find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including car creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the entire car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.